Welcome back, guys. So this time I decided to do something different. I decided to take advantage of the month of October and make a horror themed video. So I was thinking about it and I came across this idea of doing a top 5 video. And then I went to Instagram, and I put on my stories a poll of what idea you guys preferred me to make. And a lot of you preferred I would do the scariest horror films I've ever watched. So when I was making this list, I noticed that there were too many good scary horror films. So I made 3 separate top 5 lists, and I'm probably gonna do 3 videos on this topic, but each list has its holy grail on the top. So yeah, let's begin. So I'm first going to talk about the film that to me is the pure definition of scary, and that is Ju-on the Grudge. And now I'm not talking about the American version with Sarah Michelle Gellar, even though I love it quite a lot, but instead the Japanese version from 2002, in which it depicts perfectly the Ryoko Japanese folklore that is about a father who kills their own family in a house, and now the kids who were murdered became vengeful spirits who only seek to find and kill anyone who steps on their territory. So they put a curse on these people and they terrorize them until they eventually kill them. What's so horrifying about this film is there is no safeness. These spirits can appear from any place in this house, literally from anywhere. So as soon as they put the curse on you, you will die. There's no escape from this curse. But you don't know when you're going to die, and you don't know how you're going to die. So our anxiety and tension that we feel for the character starts building up from the very beginning, because we know that danger is out there, but we don't know when it's going to appear. There's even this one scene that I still remember to this day, and I'm going to remind you guys, I saw this film once when I was 8 years old, and I haven't seen it ever since. And this one scene is basically one of the girls from the film is on her bed and she has the curse. And then the sheets of the bed start emerging up, and she just uncovers the bed sheets, and she literally finds the spirit like on the bed, like under the covers, and then the spirit drags her with her under the bed. And when you see that as a kid, you are completely terrified because you think the only safe place to escape the demons is under your covers. And with this scene, I felt like that there was no longer any safe place in my house. So at number 4 we have Sinister. And with this film I completely understood how old footage with low quality can be more terrifying than anything made nowadays. And this film is basically about our protagonist who moves into a house with his family to write a book, and his book is about a crime scene, but he doesn't say to his family that the crime scene he's writing on actually occurred in the house they moved in. So when he's in his house, he actually finds a box with 8mm footage, which is like old camera gear, and then he finds out that the crime correlates to the footage that he found out on the attic. So now he needs to watch these tapes, and that's where the horror comes in. Since the scariest parts of this film is us watching him watch this footage he found, and on this footage there are basically snuff films, films where they actually kill people to film this. And it even gets to a place where he no longer wants to watch them, but he needs to because he's writing a book about all of these things. And he needs to write this book because he needs to make money, since he needs to pay for the house he moved in. So he's trapped. So in a way we empathize with this protagonist, since we feel the desperation that he has while watching these gruesome and disturbing footage, these snuff films. And that's how the horror is explored, because our reactions, the viewers, are the same as his, because we are watching at the same time as he is. And the snuff films are so raw and so real that it affects us in a similar way. And the ending is amazing because it takes itself serious until the very end. This is not a feel-good film. This is a film that it needs to take it serious until the very end, and that's what it does. Because it's so gruesome and visceral that there can be no breaks to its runtime. And at number 3 we have Ghostland, a film so sad and gruesome that makes you feel like shit for anything that happens in this film. But despite everything, it's still a very beautiful film because of its atmosphere and setting, and even the material that explores, since it basically depicts on two sisters who are captured and are trapped in a house, who are basically brutally tortured and are constantly facing danger. But this danger is not like any other. This danger is, as I said, very gruesome, a type of gruesome that goes over the line, and that even makes them have these hallucinations that are basically a way for them to cope with the situation they're in. And at number 2 we have VHS 2. And I was debating over if I would prefer to put the first one in or this one. Even though I love both films equally, I do think the sequel, the second one, is more terrifying than the first one, like more bizarre. And this film is basically a horror anthology that has in its composition 4 short horror stories. And I'm going to talk about the last two, Safe Haven and Alien Tape. So a lot of people talk about the Safe Haven one, which basically is about a group of friends that go into this massage place in Thailand, and they start viewing these, or even better, witnessing these bizarre happenings with the people from this massage place. And now they want to escape, but when they figure out they need to escape, it's too late. And the true horror of this story comes when they are running away from this place, and as they are running away, they are witnessing all of these bizarre and macabre happenings with the Thailand people. So it's more of a visual type of horror. But in my opinion, the Alien Tape did something better. It focused more on the sound department. And for me, sound is more horrifying than visual, so obviously I am a bit biased to the horror films that focused itself more on the sound part. And the horror that comes with the Alien Tape is when the UFO is chasing the kids from the story to abduct them, and as soon as the UFO is seen by the kids, it makes this bizarre like sound. It's so terrifying, horrifying. So you are with anxiety through the whole story, because as soon as you hear that sound, you are completely on edge, because you know that one of the kids is getting abducted, but you don't know who it is and how it's going and how he's going to get abducted. So I completely love, and I still remember that godforsaken sound to this day, and it's probably one of my favorite like scenes, or should I say like stories from horror, because it's so simple and yet so effective. So the last film I'm going to talk about completely broke me, and that film is Hereditary. Now this film is so horrifying, terrifying, whatever you want to call it, because it deals with the feeling of grief. Something a lot of us don't fully understand because it's very complex. And this film bases itself on what grief can do to a family and can do to a person. This film is so good and genius since it disturbs you and scares you into a level that you will retain it for a very long period of time. This film is a true must if you want and need a complete horror experience in its fullest.